Hey everybody, so good to see you all, or at least so good to have you see me. I want to thank you for all of your time and effort in coming to the training today. And I want to thank Zoila for bringing up the possibility of me being embedded into your video so that I could be part of your team. And we can talk a little bit about just what impacts LifeSteps and how and why. I want to tell you that the lens I come from as a social worker, being on at the property on what I call the front lines. In the very beginning, when LifeSteps never had any resources, and I'm sure that you probably say we never have enough resources even now, and frankly, we're always going to try to get better, so always tell us what you need. We might not always have the resources today, but we're always looking for adding it in the future. I want to talk a little bit about client assistance and the carrier of hope. And I want to tell you a little story about me doing a needs assessment for the first time at LifeSteps, and there wasn't really anybody working here at LifeSteps, and there wasn't any infrastructure, and all of the good people at the corporate office didn't even exist yet. But I went to the door and I knocked and I tried to find out what it is that we could do to help the residents in the community that I was at. And one of the members answered the door, and it was a woman who was about 35 years old and had a child in First 5 in Head Start. And it gave me an opportunity to talk to her. And at the time I asked her what it is that she could use and benefit from, and she said nothing. But she still invited me in, and when I saw her apartment inside, I could see that they didn't have any power on, and there wasn't any food in the fridge. And there was a 5-year-old that was going to come to, or 4-year-old that was going to come to home in a couple of hours. But most importantly, when I talked to her, she talked about not having enough money for rent and broke down on me. And frankly, I didn't know what to do because I didn't have any money. There was no services at LifeSteps, and I didn't know how to fix it. But I felt her depression, and I started becoming depressed myself because I felt so hopeless. And so I just sat with her. I didn't have the answers. I didn't have any resources, but I sat with her. And it was the act of sitting with her and listening to her as she talked about the possibilities of what else she could do and the friends she did know and the family members that might be able to help. She started coming up with her own solution. And I realized in that moment that sometimes we as social workers go into the household and we think that we're going to do something to the residents. And what we have to learn is that the residents actually already have the answers, but simply sometimes are just too depressed to move. And it's the act of being in the room, sitting with somebody and telling them that you believe in them and that they have the options and reminding them of what survivor they are in the world, that sometimes that's enough to get them out of where they're at. So this particular family, I walked away and again, I didn't have any resources, and frankly, I felt like I didn't have enough, I shouldn't do this job. I felt maybe I didn't have enough resource and it wasn't something that I could fix and I couldn't take it away, and I just felt sad when I left. I followed up with her another week later to check in on her, and I heard her relief because one of the people that she mentioned actually did give her the resource, and then we started working on budgeting and giving her the venue so that she could actually live within her means. That household was there for years to come after that, and I walked away realizing that oftentimes what we do, whether it be with children or with seniors or with adults trying to raise families, oftentimes, it's just being that member that says, I believe in you, and you can do this, and you're not alone, that transforms lives. So I hope that there's something that I said today that actually hits home for you, and you remind yourself of how powerful you are. And meanwhile, we're going to still keep growing that client assistance account so we can change lives. And we do have the money to keep them in housing, and we can stabilize the unit, because that is something that I don't want you to ever have to experience without the resource. I want to make sure that you always have the resource, and we'll do everything in my power to make sure that this LifeSteps continues to give out over $450,000 a year to change poverty. Thanks. I look forward to seeing you guys next time.